So what would Tata Motors have done? They must be wondering why they didn't sue IndiGo when the airline was set up, because the IndiGo car came first, didn't it? Okay, so if you haven't guessed already and you haven't seen the subject of this video, it combines my two loves of aviation and automotive, and we're talking about the decision by IndiGo, the airline, to sue Mahindra for naming their new car the B6E, or the B Sexy. And IndiGo is upset because they're using the 6E moniker trademarked by IndiGo, because 6E is IndiGo's IATA code. So there are lots of issues over here. Now, I must at the very outset state that I am not a lawyer, let alone an intellectual property lawyer, but I'm a journalist. I've covered the aviation and automotive industries extensively over the years, and like many automotive journalists, I'm an av geek as well. Now, first things first, and I discussed this in my previous video about what would happen to Vistara's UK code when Vistara was merged into Air India. And as I pointed out in that video, which you can watch if you click the link, was that the code would revert to IATA, the International Airline Transport Association, which owns all these codes. The airline doesn't own the code, so IndiGo does not own 6E. But IndiGo has obviously spent a lot of money promoting 6E over the years. The in-flight magazine is called Hello 6E. This way they say 6E to make it sound like sexy was something IndiGo has obviously spent a lot of time on. Back in the day when I was covering IndiGo, Bruce Ashby, who was IndiGo's first CEO, told me they actually chose 6E when they were given a host of codes to choose from. Like, you know, Jet Airways had 9W, 9 Whiskey, Go Air used to use Golf 8, and so on and so forth. So IndiGo chose 6E because they could make it into sexy, and yada yada. They spend a lot of time on promoting 6E as sexy. They say sexy quite often in the advertising material as well, promotional material. But can you trademark? That's of course the question that the judges and the lawyers would have to decide. Can you trademark these two-letter word combinations? You know, like, for example, I'm driving a BMW iX right now, but BMW makes me think about M1, M2, M3. They're all BMW cars, but they're also Apple processors for the MacBook Air I'm editing this video on, right? I'm not confused by the fact that the M3 is a blazing fast processor. I am on the next generation M4 is going to be even faster. In fact, I just drove the BMW M4 competition on the Buddha International Circuit. You can watch that video too if you click the link. That's an amazingly fast car, but there's no confusion there, right? We know that the BMW M4 or M3 is very, very different from the Apple M3 or M2, and whenever the Apple M4 comes out. There's no confusion there. And that's the point that Mahindra is making. I mean, the 6E, the BE6E, is in a wholly different segment from, say, IndiGo's 6E. One's an airline, one's a car. Mahindra said they were going to talk with IndiGo. IndiGo's very upset. Their statement said, no, we want to protect our trademarks and our rights. It's going to be a very interesting case and fascinating case to follow. I was speaking to some lawyer friends of mine yesterday, and they said, oh, IndiGo has a case, but they don't have a case too, and it's going to be fascinating. But these are two big companies. Keep in mind, these are both critical components of the, you know, Nifty 50. IndiGo is by far, in a way, India's largest airline. Mahindra is India's largest SUV maker. They're fast climbing up the charts. And to be very honest, you know, I took the B6E very, very fast on Mahindra's test track. You can watch that video as well. So there's a lot of stuff I'm cross-linking over here. But I don't know how this case is going to play out. It's a very fascinating case. And you know, there's some of these cases that you really do want to follow and to track. And yes, that's what I really want to do. I want to follow and track this case. I wonder if the two companies will come to an understanding. Now, one thing I have to say about Mahindra over here is they're using it's the BE6E as by spelling. Now they pronounce BE as B, but there are two E's, right? So BE, as we think, stands for Born Electric. Then you have XEV9E for the other car. So is the second E redundant? I mean, could it be the B6 or the XEV9? I mean, the E obviously stands for electric in both the names, and both the first E and the second E. So does the second E become redundant? Secondly, as I said, the question is, can you trademark a two-letter combination? Could Jet Airways have ever trademarked 9W? When the code went back to IATA, what happens there? Now, I'm not saying IndiGo is going to go bankrupt. They're very, very well capitalized. But what happens in case one day, what happens if Jet Airways had restarted and they didn't get the 9W code again, because the 9W code was surrendered back in, when the airline went bankrupt, or, Go First has gone into insolvency. So when it declared insolvent, the G8 code, now had Go Air been bought by another guy, would the code remain the same if IATA issued them an all new code? So these are lots of questions over here, because that have to be answered, and have to be answered by judges and by intellectual property lawyers, and it's going to be a very, very interesting and fascinating case. It's not going to be, some of these questions are questions that haven't been answered as yet, and maybe I think both brands will come to an understanding, because this is a fairly complex issue around trademarks, around copyrights, around intellectual property. These are my thoughts on this. As I said, I'm not a lawyer, so but both sides have very, very good intellectual, rich companies. At the end of the day, I think only lawyers are going to make a lot of money out of this. But yes, I like IndiGo. I like the B6E, a very nice car. I really like driving it. So a bit of both. So thank you so much for watching. This is Kushan Mitra, reminding you to subscribe to my channel if you like aviation content and automotive content, and sometimes a mix of both. Thank you so much.